January 26, 1945. Imagine a frozen field in France, covered in 2 feet of snow. The temperature is a brutal 14 degrees Fahrenheit. In the distance, the skeletal remains of a village stand against a bruised grey sky. Out here, in this barren white wasteland, a lone American lieutenant, already wounded, stares down the impossible. What's coming for him? 6 German panzer tanks, their steel hulls seeming to mock the cold, and behind them waves of infantrymen in white camouflage, at least 250 of them. His men, or what's left of them, have fallen back. He is utterly alone, and he's standing on the deck of a burning M10 tank destroyer. It's been hit, the crew has fled, and its hull is a ticking time bomb, loaded with fuel and ammo that could detonate at any second. But the man on this metal coffin is no giant. He's Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy. He stands just 5'5" and weighs a little over 100 pounds. He's a boy-faced sharecropper's son from Texas, who'd been rejected by both the Marines and the paratroopers for being underweight. So how did this unassuming soldier, who looked more like a kid playing dress-up than a combat officer, end up in this nightmare? How did he become a one-man army, turning a burning wreck into a machine gun nest to single-handedly stop an entire German assault? This is the insane, almost unbelievable true story of Audie Murphy's final, legendary stand. To understand the man on the tank, you have to know the boy who was forged in hardship long before he ever saw a battlefield. Audie Leon Murphy was born in Hunt County, Texas, on June 20th, 1925, into a world of grinding poverty. He was the 7th of 12 children in a family of sharecroppers who drifted from one dilapidated shack to another. Life was a constant struggle for survival. Their home often had no electricity or running water, and food was never a guarantee. His father eventually abandoned them, leaving Audie's mother, Josie, to raise the kids on her own. From a young age, the job of providing for the family fell on Audie's small shoulders. He dropped out of school in the 5th grade to work in cotton fields for $1 a day. But his real contribution came from his skill with a rifle. He became a crack shot, not for sport, but out of pure necessity. Hunting rabbits and squirrels wasn't a hobby. It was the difference between his younger siblings eating or going to bed hungry. He once said he couldn't afford to miss, because a wasted bullet meant a lost meal. This is where he learned patience and the cold math of life and death. The hardships just kept coming. When Audie was a teenager, his mother died. The family was shattered, and his younger siblings were sent to an orphanage, a fate that would haunt Audie for the rest of his life. He was left completely adrift. Then, on December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked. For a boy like Audie, it wasn't just a call to duty. It was a way out. He tried to enlist, but the military wasn't impressed. The Marine Corps turned him down for being too short. The Navy and Army paratroopers also rejected him. At just 110 pounds, he seemed destined to be swallowed whole by the war machine. But Audie refused to take no for an answer. With the help of his older sister, he fudged his birth certificate to make himself a year older, finally meeting the Army's age requirement. The Army reluctantly took him. During basic training, he was so frail that he passed out during a drill. His company commander tried to transfer him to a cook and baker's school, but Audie wasn't having it. He had not fought his way out of poverty just to be sidelined. He insisted on becoming a combat soldier. Little did anyone know, this quiet, underestimated kid from Texas was about to become the most decorated combat soldier in American history. Audie Murphy's path to that frozen field was paved with 2 years of relentless, brutal combat. He didn't just show up in France a legend. He earned his reputation step by bloody step across Europe. His war started in North Africa in 1943 with the 3rd Infantry Division, one of the most celebrated American units of the war. From the start, the boy who was almost a cook proved to be a natural soldier. In July 1943, during the invasion of Sicily, his scouting patrol was ambushed. Instead of retreating, Murphy and another soldier responded with a furious barrage of grenades and machine gun fire, killing 5 German soldiers. From Sicily, they moved to mainland Italy. Near the Volturno River, he and his company repelled an attack, killing 3 German soldiers and capturing 4 more. His skill was undeniable, and promotions started coming. It was also in Italy that he contracted malaria, a disease that would plague him with fevers for the rest of the war. He often went into battle sick, but he never let it stop him. In early 1944, he was thrown into the meat grinder of the Anzio beachhead, where Allied forces were trapped for months under constant German fire. Promotions came quickly, often because the men above him were killed or wounded. He rose to sergeant, then staff sergeant. In August 1944, his division invaded southern France. This is where his courage became legendary. During a firefight, Murphy's best friend, Laddie Tipton, was killed by German soldiers pretending to surrender. Something inside Audie snapped. Enraged, he launched a one-man assault, grabbing a machine gun and charging the German position. He didn't stop there. He used captured German weapons to systematically clear out several nearby enemy nests, killing every German soldier in a 100-yard radius. For this incredible act, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the nation's second highest award for valor. Just weeks later, he earned 2 Silver Stars for separate acts of heroism. His leadership was so obvious that he was given a battlefield commission to second lieutenant, making him an officer. 12 days after that, he was seriously wounded in the hip and spent 10 weeks in a hospital. By the time he returned to his unit in January 1945, he was a 19-year-old, battle-hardened veteran, walking with fresh bandages and far from recovered. But his biggest test was still to come. To really get what Murphy was up against, we need to understand the brutal, often overlooked battle he was in, the Colmar Pocket. In the winter of 1944-1945, while the world was watching the Battle of the Bulge, another desperate struggle was unfolding in the Alsace region of France. The Colmar Pocket was a stubborn German foothold on the west bank of the Rhine River, a dagger pointed at Allied supply lines. For the Allies, eliminating this pocket was essential. The offensive began on January 20th, 1945, in some of the most horrific conditions imaginable. It was one of the coldest winters on record. The terrain was a nightmare of frozen plains, dense forests and fortified villages. Digging a foxhole in the iron-hard ground was nearly impossible. Weapons froze, and soldiers suffered terribly from frostbite. Audie Murphy's 3rd Infantry Division was thrown right into the heart of this meat grinder. Their mission was to clear the Bois de Riedvar, a forest that dominated the approach to the German stronghold of Holzwar. On January 23rd, the 30th Infantry Regiment initially captured the edge of the woods, but was decimated by a German counterattack and forced to withdraw, shattered. The next day, it was Murphy's 15th Infantry Regiment's turn to retake that same blood-soaked ground. The fighting was so savage that Murphy's Company B was cut to ribbons. Of an original fighting strength of over 200 men, casualties and sickness had bled them dry. By the morning of January 26th, Murphy was the only officer left capable of command, with just 18 effective soldiers. He himself had been wounded again by shrapnel in both legs just the day before. They were exhausted, freezing, and ordered to hold a vital road on the edge of the woods. It was the climax of days of brutal warfare, and the fate of it all would soon rest on the shoulders of one wounded, 19-year-old lieutenant. The morning of January 26, 1945, was bleak and freezing. The 18 remaining men of Company B huddled in their frozen foxholes. Supporting them were 2 M10 tank destroyers. Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy was running on pure adrenaline. His hip still ached from a previous wound, and his legs throbbed from the fresh shrapnel he'd taken the day before. Around 2 p.m., the calm shattered. A German artillery barrage rained down, kicking up fountains of snow and frozen earth. Then, Murphy saw them. Emerging from the direction of Holzwar were 6 German panzer tanks, and behind them, hundreds of infantry in white snow camouflage. An attacking force of at least 250 men. It was a nightmare. 18 Americans against an armored assault. Murphy knew they couldn't hold their position. He ordered his men to pull back deeper into the woods for better cover. But Murphy didn't go with them. He stayed forward in a shallow ditch with his carbine and a field telephone, calling in artillery strikes on the advancing Germans. Drop it 50 yards, he'd shout into the phone, watching as shells tore bloody holes in the German lines. The 2 American M10s moved up to engage the panzers. The exchange was short and brutal. One M10 took a direct hit and erupted in flames. The surviving crew bailed out, leaving their vehicle to burn. Now Murphy was truly alone. The German infantry was getting closer, their bullets stitching lines in the snow around him. He'd used up all the ammo for his carbine. The situation was hopeless. It was in this moment that Audie Murphy looked at the burning tank destroyer. He saw its .550 caliber machine gun, still intact, and he started to run. What happened next is the stuff of legend. As German bullets tore through the air, Audie Murphy climbed onto the rear deck of the burning M10. The vehicle was a death trap, plain and simple. The fire was spreading, threatening to cook off the high-explosive shells inside at any moment. He was completely exposed, a lone silhouette against fire and smoke. He swung into the open turret and grabbed the .550 caliber machine gun. The gun roared to life, and the heavy rounds ripped into the first wave of German infantry, cutting them down. The Germans were stunned. The thick, oily smoke from the burning vehicle gave Murphy a perfect, if terrifying, scream. He knew the gun wouldn't do much to the panzers, so he focused his fire with cold precision on the infantry. He understood that without infantry support, tanks are vulnerable. For over an hour, Murphy stood his ground on that ticking time bomb. The Germans threw everything they had at him. Machine gun fire clanged off the hull. A nearby shell blast sent shrapnel into his leg, his third wound. But he ignored the pain and kept firing. All the while, he stayed on the phone, directing artillery. When a lieutenant at headquarters asked how close the Germans were, Murphy calmly replied, "If you'll just hold the phone a minute, I'll let you talk to one of the bastards." His deadly fire broke the German attack. The infantry faltered. A German squad that tried to flank him was wiped out. With their infantry support gone, the German tanks hesitated, then began to fall back. Murphy fought on until the last belt of ammunition was gone. Only then did he stop. Bleeding, exhausted, and half-deaf, he climbed down and limped back toward the woods, where his men watched in stunned disbelief. But he wasn't done. Refusing medical attention, Murphy organized his tiny force. He would not just defend, he would attack. He personally led his 18 men in a counterattack, pursuing the retreating Germans and forcing them all the way back. By the end of it, Audie Murphy had single-handedly killed or wounded an estimated 50 German soldiers. His incredible stand saved his company and preserved the Allied line. He had faced down 250 men and 6 tanks, and he had won. For his indomitable courage, Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy was awarded the Medal of Honor, the United States' highest award for valor. By the end of the war, he had earned 28 medals, including every U.S. Army Combat Award for valor, plus several from France and Belgium. When victory was declared in Europe, he wasn't even 21 years old. He returned home a national hero. His face on the cover of Life magazine caught the eye of actor James Cagney, who invited him to Hollywood. Murphy starred in more than 40 films, most famously playing himself in the 1955 adaptation of his autobiography, To Hell and Back. The movie was a huge hit, but Murphy insisted on toning down some events, fearing audiences wouldn't believe the full story. Beneath the fame, however, Murphy was fighting a silent, invisible war. He suffered from what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. He was plagued by insomnia and nightmares, sleeping with a loaded handgun under his pillow every night. He became dependent on sleeping pills, but, showing the same willpower he had on the battlefield, eventually locked himself in a hotel room for a week to break the addiction on his own. In a time when no one talked about it, Audie Murphy spoke openly about his mental health struggles, becoming a pioneering advocate for veterans. His later years were marked by financial troubles. On May 28, 1971, shortly before his 46th birthday, Audie Murphy died when a private plane he was a passenger in crashed into a mountain in Virginia during bad weather. Today, Audie Murphy is buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. His simple grave is the second most visited site there, surpassed only by President John F. Kennedy's tomb. People from all over the world come to pay their respects to a symbol of incredible resilience. Audie Murphy's story is more than a tale of a single battle. It's the story of a boy forged by poverty who became an icon of courage. It's a reminder that the greatest heroes are often the ones you'd least expect. The quiet ones who, when faced with an impossible choice, choose to stand their ground. And it's a solemn reminder of the hidden costs of war and the battles that continue long after the soldiers come home. If you found this story of incredible bravery as amazing as we did, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more true stories of heroism. Let us know in the comments what part of Audie Murphy's story resonates most with you. Thanks for watching.